First of all, you need to know them for your own life, because you got to know that there are differences in intelligence. It's really important. If you go into a job and you're not smart enough for that job, you're going to have one bloody miserable time, and you're going to make life wretched for the people around you, because you won't be able to handle the position. And as you climb hierarchies of competence, the demand on fluid intelligence increases. And so unless you want to fail, you don't put yourself in over your head. Well, what's over your head? Well, that's a tricky thing to figure out. I mean, you have to figure that out with intelligence, you have to figure it out with conscientiousness, you have to figure it out with creativity, you have to figure it out with stress tolerance, with agreeableness, because you want to go into a cooperative environment and not a competitive one if you're agreeable. And with neuroticism, you probably want to keep the stress level of your job relatively low, because those are all places that you can break down. And most people have at least one significant weakness in their intelligence personality makeup, and you got to be careful not to place yourself in a position where that's going to be a fatal flaw. But what you really want to do, as far as I can tell, if you want to maximize your chances for both success and let's say well-being, is you want to find a strata of occupation in which you would have an intelligence that would put you in the upper quartile. That's perfect. Then you're a big fish in a small pond. And you don't want to be the stupidest guy in the room. It's a bloody rough place to be. So, and you probably don't want to be the smartest guy in the room either, because what that probably means is you should be in a different room, right? You should look at a place where, if you're right at the top, you've mastered it. It's time to go somewhere where you're a little lower, so that you've got something to climb up for. So, and if you're not hyper conscientious, for example, you're probably not going to want a job that you have to work 70 hours a week at, because you're just not wired up that way. You'd rather have some leisure, and like, more power to you. If that's how you're wired up, there's nothing wrong with having some leisure. But if you're someone who can't stand sitting around doing nothing ever, then maybe you can go into a job that's going to require you to work 75 hours a week. And almost all jobs that are at the top of complex dominance hierarchies require very high intelligence and insane levels of conscientiousness, as well, generally speaking, as pretty damn high levels of stress tolerance. You know, because that can knock you out too, because there's going to be sharp fluctuations in your career, generally speaking, at the higher levels of a structure, and you have to make very complicated decisions, often with very short time horizons. So you have to decide if that's what you want. So, okay, so how smart do you have to be different things in life? Well, if you have an IQ of 116 to 130, which is 85th percentile and above, so it's one person in 8 up to one person in 130, I believe is 85, 90, 95, is it 95? I think it's 95. One person in 8 to one person in 20. Then you can be an attorney, a research analyst, an editor, an advertising manager, a chemist, an engineer, an executive manager, etc. Now, that's not the high end for IQ, by the way. You know, that it can go up, well, it can go up indefinitely, although there's fewer and fewer people as it goes up. So if you want to be the best at what you're doing, bar none, then having an IQ of above 145 is a necessity, and maybe you're pushing 160 in some situations.
The moment you start getting feedback in your outer world with cool things happening, you're going to pay attention to what you did to create that, and you're going to do it again. And now you're going to begin to believe that you're more of a creator of your life than you are a victim of your life. Now let's just talk about being a victim of your life. If I approached you and I said, Brian, why the long face? And you said, oh my goodness, you know, I got a flat tire today, or that person didn't accept my offer, or whatever it was, or, you know, this person is bothering me. What you're really saying is something in your outer world is absolutely capturing all of your attention, and it's causing you to think and feel a certain way. And yet how you think and feel creates your life. So the moment you give your power away to some person or something, the stronger the emotion you feel, the more you're going to pay attention to that person, and where you place your attention is where you place your energy. So it makes sense then that every time you say, I am this way because of something out there, you're unconsciously signing up to be a victim to your life. And yet when you start taking time away from your life and retreating and changing how you think and feel, now this just isn't a panacea. That doesn't mean you do it and then you get up and you get on the freeway and you start cutting people off. You're doing it to change your brain and body to stay in that state of being. If you happen to maintain that modified state of mind and body for a good portion of your day, weird and unusual things are going to happen in your life. And when they start happening, you're going to rush the next day to sit down and do it again, because you're going to begin to realize it works and you're going to want more of it, right? So 30 years of doing this, nobody changes until they change their energy. I know that. And when you change your energy, you change your life, and it is like magic. Getting people beyond their habituations, their hardwired attitudes, their emotional addictions, and causing them to step into the unknown, that void, the biological, the neurological, the chemical, the hormonal, the genetic death of the old self. They got to be in that river of change, and they got to be in that place of uncertainty. The hardest part about change is not making the same choices you did the day before. And the moment you start making new choices, get ready. It's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel unfamiliar. There's going to be some uncertainty. You can't predict the next moment. You're in the unknown. So most people, they run back to the familiar and they say, oh, this feels better. No, it feels familiar. It doesn't feel right. It feels familiar. And yet the person who crosses that river and says, what thoughts do I want to fire and wire in my brain? What behaviors do I want to demonstrate? The act of closing your eyes and rehearsing the behaviors you're going to demonstrate in one day begins to install the neurological hardware in your brain to look like it already happened. You are priming your brain and those circuits in your brain to begin to think that way or to act that way. Who knows? You may just start acting like a healthy person. You may start thinking like a genius. Well, you install the circuits. There's no magic there.
No idea works until you do the work. I mean, the reality is, reading a book or going to a conference or having a great conversation where you get this golden information, that's all fantastic. But what makes mastery is execution on the ideas, not the ideas. And so no idea works unless you're willing to roll up your sleeves, do the practice, invest the time, put in the effort, do the work. I think we've all observed a lot of people who, they love reading the books, they love showing up at the courses, they do all the online training, and nothing ever changes. And they say, well, I don't know why it doesn't change, why my life doesn't change, why my thinking doesn't change, why my performance doesn't change, why my relationships don't change. Well, it's because ideas don't work if you don't execute on them. So if you look at the great business builders, you look at any great performer, one thing that makes them great is their grit. One thing that makes them great is their hunger to practice. One thing that makes them great is they are willing to sacrifice. I mean, yes, they're passionate, but did you know the root of the word passion is suffering? You've got to be willing to suffer for your vision. You've got to be willing to suffer to reach BIW, best in world. You've got to be willing to suffer the ridicule and laughter of your critics and your cynics to get to a place called world class. Double your income and impact, triple your investment in two areas, your personal development and your professional education. I'm going to repeat that again because it's such an important maxim. To double your income and impact, triple your investment in two areas, your personal development and your professional education. I had a conversation the other day with someone and he shared something fascinating. He said, in my culture, we have a principle to invest 10% in our personal development, 10% of their income in their personal education. And that's part of their culture where they live in the world. And I've never heard that before, and I thought that was fascinating. It's almost like tithing, but when it comes to personal development. And so, why do I suggest you invest in your personal development and your professional education? Well, investing in your personal development makes you more positive. It makes you more fearless. It makes you more confident. It makes you more self-aware. Investing in your personal development is all about getting to know your true nature, your potential. And when you connect with who you truly are, your potential and your inner genius and your creativity and your talents, of course that's going to make you exponentially more successful in the world. And then the second area to invest in dramatically is your professional education. You want to go to a conference every 3 months. You want to have a circle of mentors. You want to be in the rooms with the A players. Why? Because when you know more, you can achieve more. When you know more about your work and your craft and your skill than anyone else who has ever done it, you're going to be untouchable. because you're going to see things that most people can't see.
I think you should quit chasing the paycheck and start chasing the passion. I think you should quit craving the approval of others and start defining what you are about. Even though those moments may feel challenging, like the moment is just too big, like you're not enough to handle it, that's not true. You are able to overcome that, but it's going to take effort.
And you can achieve anything that you want. That fear of what people think about you, worrying, what other people think, negativity, it won't matter. It won't be the main thing that holds you back. You will break through that and you can achieve anything you want.
I think you should quit negativity and start having gratitude for whatever stage of life you're currently in and whatever happens to you. I think you should quit caring about what other people think and start living your version of life. I think you should quit being a watered down version of someone else when you can be the full version of who you are.
The antidote to haters is confidence. And one of the ways we build confidence is surrounding ourselves with the right people and by having the right mentors who have already succeeded and can help us overcome negative people, mental health challenges, and any adversity that we face.
Failure is necessary to be able to improve. Failure is necessary to be able to excel. If you aren't willing to fail, you are not going to succeed.
If you love yourself, then you're going to get in the mirror and you're going to face the adversity, face the conflict, embrace rather than avoid challenges. And you don't give up on yourself. Do not give up on yourself. When you find yourself criticizing yourself negatively, comparing yourself to others, try to find inspiration in their successes and strengths instead of feeling threatened.
If you don't become obsessed with creating your ideal life, it will slip away. You will lose sight. You can't let that happen. You need to make your life a priority.
Even at your darkest time, you're destined for something greater. Let me say that again. Even at your darkest time, you're destined for something greater.
Confident people know that your imperfections are what actually allow you to be confident. They will be the determining factor in your ability to feel confident and your ability to have confidence be a part of your life.
It is self-compassion that gives us the power to face our failures, to face our fears, to face our insecurities, to face what we don't like about ourselves and come out on top.
The bottom line is the world is yours.
I don't think confidence is something that you are born with. It's a skill set. And I had no confidence. So confidence is something I taught myself over the years. I started becoming okay with who I am. I became the best version of me. And then I sort of said, I'm okay, I'm all right. Even if someone else thinks this, I'm okay. And everyone can do that. People just don't realize it. So it made me understand that confidence truly is the key to getting ahead in life. If you believe in yourself, the world will believe in you. Because perception is reality.
As soon as I started doing everything that I loved, there was a surge of power, a surge of confidence. I wasn't insecure anymore because the emotion that had the most dominance in my thought process was actually being paid attention to.
I'm really sick of being insecure. I believe I'm enough, and I believe that everything I have that I need for life to make all my dreams come true, I know it's already inside of me.
It's who you are and being comfortable with who you are that influences other people to say, oh, okay, maybe I could do that. You can't wait for destiny. No one can be that. You can't be like, oh, destiny's going to knock on my door one day. No, it won't. You have to be able to recognize opportunities. Because there'll be a lot of them that come into your life. And once you recognize an opportunity, you have to seize the day and work bloody hard because there'll be 25 other people who will want to do it.
The first step is belief, right? People think the belief comes once you've done it. You won't even take the first step if you don't believe that you can accomplish it. So we lead with belief as a species. So you have to find a way to believe in it to move. So your mom is giving you an awesome challenge. Can you believe in the face of her doubt, right? And to me, when people doubt me, it's a gift. I love that because I believe in beauty and rage. And you need both. I need people to love me. I need to want beautiful things for myself and for others. I want to create something amazing. I want to help a lot of people. I also want to prove a lot of people wrong who don't think that I can do this. I want to crush the enemies that want to see me fail, that want to do anything they can to ensure that I fail.
The reason if you fire everybody, you might be the problem is, and I have no idea, but like one of the theories or the things that I've seen is that it means that you're not willing to be accountable. When I fire somebody, earlier I said firing, that was my fault. I hired them. When we lose a client because of the head of strategy or creative or media, that's my fault. I empower them. Once you take on full accountability, life gets awesome. Once you realize everything is your fault and you're in control, you know why everybody's so upset? They think somebody has control over them. I don't give a shit who the mayor, who the governor, who the president is. I'm gonna live. It's real facts. And by the way, if you don't like it, move to Sweden. Like, you're in control. I think that's, you know, my parents, and I'm not sure that's a Soviet thing, that was my parents, but I
believe it is. They just, all their emotions go out and it's to get the job done.
Yeah, dude, when you have context where like you had to stay in line for bread, there are people who complain every day and like just complain, but are buying $7 coffees at Starbucks. Like, do you know how soft you are when you buy $7 coffee? I went on one family vacation in my life growing up. I worked every day from 14 years old, every weekend, every single summer day. I have no entitlement. I built a $65 million business for my mom and dad and left at 34 years old with no money because I didn't pay myself anything while I was building it. So when these kids are talking about being sad and want to be somebody, I was 34 years old and built a $65 million business. I built it, right? And I left with nothing and started over at 34. Zero. I started VaynerMedia in the conference room of Buddy Media's company because I had no money to pay for our own rent. I lack entitlement. It's my strength. I took that from them.
Dwelling and pondering and crying doesn't do shit, and it especially doesn't do shit in this echo chamber. In this arena, there is no crying. You can cry, you're just gonna lose. And I have bad news about complaining and crying. Let me tell you something about complaining and crying that's really, really gonna hurt for all you complainers out there. Nobody gives a shit. And let me give you a preview who gives a shit. The following people give a shit when you complain. The other losers around you, your sick, broken parent that secretly wants to hold you down so that you're not more successful than them. And let me remind you one more time, the other fucking losers around you. We have to start deploying self-awareness. If you leave here and start your process of really knowing what makes you happy, of who are you really, if you could stop chipping away the voices from the outside, if you can start figuring out what you're scared of, if you want to actually do something, even in the light of the picture that I'm painting right now, who are you scared to fail in front of? The reason so many of you are not doing what you want to do is you're scared to fail in some. You're scared that your brother will judge you, your wife, your girlfriend, your husband, and most scary, your mom or your dad. You need to eliminate that and/or own that fear and put yourself in a position to succeed. Because with all of this, we are now in the greatest era. For the first time ever, with no fucking money, with no goddamn connections, this can put you on the map. If you're good enough, if you are good enough to be up here, to make bling bling, if you are good enough, nobody's stopping you. Not fucking Donald Trump, not the fucking Russians, nobody.
If you're building a small life on what you have, what God has given you, you're made in the likeness and image of God, and you've been given authority and dominion over everything over the face of the earth, you can build a new life. You can fit a new life, an expanded life, in a small mind. You have something special. You have greatness in you. Visualize the life that you want to create. Make the commitment, make up your mind to make a radical change in your behavior, knowing you don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are. Look at your relationships and ask the question, what kind of person am I becoming because of this relationship? What is it doing to me? Am I growing mentally and emotionally and spiritually and financially? What is this relationship doing to me? Am I a better person because of this relationship? Does this person hold me accountable to a higher standard? Do they bring the best out of me?
Action, you see, feeds and strengthens confidence. Inaction, on the other hand, in all of its many forms, feeds fear. I've heard it from actors, newscasters, professional athletes, even paratroopers. It's the waiting, it's the anticipation of a big event. That's the hard part. Once the action starts, nervousness and fear dissipate. But the longer the action is postponed, the greater the tension and fear become. So, if you're dreading making a certain phone call, make it, and the dread will disappear. If you're afraid of confronting a problem with your superior, don't put it off. That will only increase your anxiety. Discuss it, act on it, and discover how those worries are conquered. Make this a resolution. Build your confidence and destroy your fear through positive action.
Someone once said that the most difficult problem in life is getting out of a warm bed into a cold room. That's a difficulty a lot of people face. The longer you lie there thinking how unpleasant it will be to get up, the more difficult getting up becomes. This is another case where a quick injection of action is needed. Writers often talk about writer's block, the inability to get started. But the writer who waits for inspiration to come will probably be waiting for a very long time, may never even get a word on paper. Salesmen have frequently noticed that the hardest call to make is the first one of the day, the one that gets them started. But until the salesman takes the plunge, he or she is not a salesman at all. They're just a person thinking about being a salesman. But listen, here's a writer with an idea about getting started.
When I've got deadlines to meet, I simply can't wait for the spirit to move me. So I use what's called a mind force technique. I make myself sit down at my desk, then I just pick up a pencil or a pen or whatever, and I just go through the mechanical motions of writing. Sometimes I just doodle, sometimes I just, the idea is just to get my fingers and arms in motion. If there's a particular subject I'm writing on, I'll start writing anything at all that I can think of about that subject. Pretty soon, without being conscious of the transition, my mind gets on the right track and I just go from there.
People who get things done in this world don't wait for the spirit to move them. They move the spirit. Try these two exercises and see for yourself. First, use this mechanical starting method to accomplish simple but unpleasant business or household chores. Rather than thinking about the task, just jump right in and start doing it without any deliberation. Washing dishes, for example, or filing those papers at work. Don't even let yourself think about it. Just start doing it. That's the most effective way to handle these chores. Second, once you've done a few chores this way, use the mechanical method to create ideas, map out plans, solve problems, and do other work that requires top mental performance. One good way to get going on big projects is with a very inexpensive investment, a pencil and paper. With these two tools, you can tie your mind to a problem. When you write a thought on paper, your full attention is automatically focused on that thought. That's because the mind is not designed to think one thought and write another at the same time. And when you write on paper, you write on your mind too. Tests prove conclusively that you remember something much longer and much more exactly when you write it down on paper. In addition, once you master this pencil and paper technique for concentration, you can think in noisy and distracting situations. When you want to think, just start writing or doodling or diagramming. It's an excellent way to move your spirit.
But when you get in your head, what does that really mean? It means you're believing the most limiting thoughts. And you have to remember, we all have a 2-million-year-old brain. And it's not designed to make you happy, it's designed to make you survive. So it's always looking for what's wrong. Remember we played the game Look for Brown, and you all saw beige shit and called it brown just to feel successful? I said look for red, you saw burgundy, you called it red, so you could get more scores. Whatever you're looking for, seek and ye shall what? Find. It says that in a very good book called The Good Book. And you don't have to be religious to understand this. us that this is a fact of life. So if you and I are going to really take things to a different level, we got to see what could mess it up. So the mind could mess it up, but what aspect of the mind? What makes us start to believe those thoughts? What's the emotion that messes us up? What is it? It's absolutely fear. But there's more than this. Every day of our lives, we live in a world that is incredibly complex. It is no more stressful than World War II, when none of us in this room probably remember that time, but it looked like democracy was disappearing and the Germans were going to win at one stage. That's stressful. Being in a foxhole is stressful. You're not making as much money as you want, or being a little overweight, or someone calling you names online. That shit is not stressful. We're making it stressful. We've lost perspective. Who's with me on this? Say aye. So what's really useful, I think, today is for us to figure out what messes us up. And one of the biggest things that messes us up is expectation, right? What did we say the other day? Trade your expectations for appreciation and your whole life changes. Because when you're expecting things and it doesn't happen, you get upset. So that first day also was all about, what if you lived your life and you made a decision? And the decision was, life is too short to suffer. It's too short to be stressed, pissed off, fearful, worried. Who's with me on this? But our minds, our survival software, is always looking for what's wrong. Our job is to create the happiness. And the only way you do that is you draw a line in the sand and say, I'm not going to suffer. I'm going to be honest. If I start to feel that stress, I'm going to breathe, and I'm going to realize we're the only creatures on the planet that can think a thought and become angry. Think a thought and become playful. Think a thought and be worried. Think a thought and feel loved. That's why we can change how fast? But you have to take control and train this brain. If you don't train this brain, it'll use you instead of you using it. You have to identify with your heart or your soul or your spirit instead of the brain. As I said, in China, the heart is the emperor. It is the highest energy. It's the thing that is worshipped, because when you were born, there was no brain. Your heart started beating and there wasn't a brain in you as a fetus.
I'm nothing no more than you. You know, my job has been exceptional, though. I've been very blessed in that I've lived a life. God has enabled me to pursue my passion and tied it to my gift. I'm gifted at comedy, and I've been able to pursue it. So I wake up every day, and for a living, I play music and tell jokes. How big of a blessing is that? But you know, people they look at that, but see, you lose sight of the fact that I'm 54 though. And you don't know the fact that I've been doing this 27 years in order to get to the point where I can wake up and play music and tell jokes for a living. It's like my guest Tim Gannon, who explained the fact that he wanted to play polo. He didn't buy a pony till he was 40. He saw the first race at 16. The first match at 16. He didn't get that till he was 40. But so people look at him as the owner of the Outback Steakhouse and they go, wow, but they have no idea the journey and the stress. And what I want to talk to you about is stress. What stress is, what it really is. How it's necessary if you planning on getting to where you're trying to go to. See, stress is God's way of training you. It's preparation. But what most people do is, see, once you get stressed, you don't want that no more. So now you give up, you through. I'm stressed, so yeah, I don't want, nobody likes stress. You know, I work with a trainer. I have to work out. You know, 54, I'm supposed to, really, I ain't nothing fly, nothing like that. Really, I am, but, you know, I'm not, you know, you've been to your reunion. And you didn't know who was talking to you because you was going, whoa. And then you gonna look in the mirror and go, okay, I need to check myself. Do I look that bad? Because some people just let themselves go. But you got to, in order to develop and to change and to grow, stress is necessary. So you got to be willing to go get it every day. There's a story my father told me all the time. Now, I've heard it several different ways, but I'm just telling you the way my daddy gave it to me. He said, son, he said, every morning on the plains of the eastern Serengeti Desert, there arises a gazelle that realizes that he must run faster than the fastest lion, or he will be eaten and he will die that day. On that same desert arises in the morning a lion that realizes that he must run faster than the fastest gazelle, or he will starve and he will die that day. He said, son, the moral of the story is, no matter who you is, when you wake up in the morning, you needs to be running.
Find a way to win in spite of the crazies that are out here. The old saying, oh, you can take a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. Oh, no, that's not true. That's not true. You expose them to the right communication, information, and algorithms, and whatever else stuff out there that we're not even aware of. And not only would he drink, he'd jump in the water. This is a different space. You have to protect your mind. So, here it is. Stop knocking on an open door. You have the power. You, your voice, you, your experiences, you, your knowledge, you, the things that you have gone through. Some things happen to you and some things happen for you. You're a gold mine. Coming out of this place where we are, will be millionaires, billionaires, and witnesses. And those of you that listen to me, you're going to be a millionaire or a billionaire, but you won't be a witness. You won't just be standing around saying, I wonder what happened.
In order to get to where you want to go, you got to put yourself under some stress, though. See, stress is necessary. God is a trainer. This is what I done learned about it. And all I can tell you is, you know, how I got to be who I am. That's all I can share with you. I got no other stories for you. He got me to this point because from so far from what I done gathered in the process I'm in, he wants me to share my story with those that's still trying to get there. And at 40, you can still buy the pony. And by age 50, you can still have 5 world championships. But you got to be willing to get under some stress. See, stress is necessary. It's like, I can't believe what Bishop was talking about because I had prepared this whole thing. And it's just amazing how he is, man. God be doing. See, that's what I've learned. God cold. He do. He tricky with it. He got moves you won't even. 3 of the things I was gonna talk about, he talked about. Now I got scared to talk. Cause you know, I mean, I'm up here, you know, following the greatest preacher of all time with similar subject matter, but I have a different take on it, cause I had a different walk. So you see, the part he was talking about, that seed. See, I'm a seed, I really am. But a seed has to be planted. A seed got to have dirt put on top of it. If you take a seed and throw it on the concrete and walk off, the sun just burn it up. But guess what? Logically, in my mind, it doesn't make sense that to grow something, you should dig a hole, put it down in there, and cover it with dirt. Logically, that don't make no sense to me. But oh, though. See, dirt is necessary for growth and development. Dirt builds character. Dirt gives you the push-through factor. Dirt makes you come with it when you don't feel like coming with it no more. And you get dirt in a lot of different ways. All of y'all that had dirt thrown on you. And dirt ain't always what you want. It's somebody talking about you down on your job. It's somebody accusing you of something that you didn't do. It's somebody telling you you ain't gonna make it. It's somebody sharing information about you that ain't true. That everybody get dirt put on. But see, when you getting put under that stress, please know God is always working. Kirk Franklin's song, God is always working, so I smile. Because I know he back there. See, that dirt builds character in you. When they talking about you, it teaches you to withstand it. Then it gives you something to push through. So when you put the seed and you put the dirt on it, if you understand stress, stress really ain't just dirt. Stress, see, they don't call it dirt when they plant it. They call it soil. Because, see, soil has nutrients in it. What the nutrients, when people talking about you, dogging you, lying on you, backbiting, stealing from you, talking about you, they're actually putting nutrients in you. They're building character. You got character now. And now, the seed, if they put a camera under the ground, you'd have seen the seed sprout open and start coming through the dirt. Because the dirt is necessary so you can prove yourself. You know, if you don't really want to be, everything you see above ground that blossoms and plants and grows and that's beautiful, it was underground one time. All them potatoes, collard greens, they was underground one time. Them apple trees, they was underground one time. So they had to prove themselves. See, you want to be successful, well then you got to prove yourself. You got to push through the dirt. You got to come up through here. You got to come out. Then you sprout, and then Bishop say, then you become a tree. Next thing you know, you got fruit. So when you under stress, take the stress for what it is. Don't get fooled. Don't just think, I don't know, man, Lord must not mean for it to be. What you tripping for? What you talking about? How you think you're going to be a plant, a tree, a flower, a bush, and ain't no stress? How you going to get to be that without no dirt? Didn't they do Jesus? How you figure you're supposed to get up out of here? He was pretty perfect. We ain't even perfect. See, I expect dirt now. I expect people to talk about me. Matter of fact, I look forward to it now. You and your anything, because if I can weather what happened to me and my family earlier, you can bring whatever you got now. There's some more stuff going around now that's about to happen. Bring it. Because now I have developed a character that is stress